Well, friends, good evening once again. So, we are discussing about the
Yeah, good
meeting.
evening.
Yeah, we have started the subject meeting. Various kinds of meetings are there under companies law, like shareholders meeting, board meeting, class meeting, etc. We have initiated the talk on meeting. So today we'll be discussing that aspect, how meeting can be called upon, and what are the pre-meeting activities, what are the activities during the meeting, and what are the post-meeting activities. All these things we are going to learn today. Right. So right now I'm going to share with you the relevant screen. Just wait and watch. Uh, Let us see. I think, are you seeing the screen right now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm getting a message. There is some poor connectivity of net. So let us try.
Okay.
Yeah. Friends, in the previous classes, this is the concept what we are discussing. Prerequisites of the meeting, and I was telling you that various kinds of meetings are there. That is one aspect we have seen. One is shareholders meeting. That is one kind of meeting. Then board meeting. Then a particular class of shareholders may conduct a meeting, or particular class of stakeholders can conduct a meeting, like creditors meeting. This kind of meetings also can be held. Preference shareholders meeting. They are called as the class meeting. Okay, shareholders meeting, you have understood. That means the shareholders of the company, equity owners of the company, real owners of the company will be meeting in that meeting. Coming to board meeting, this is the impact meeting of the directors. Now here what we will be discussing, as per our syllabus, we are supposed to discuss only about the shareholders meeting or the members meeting, and some activities has to be carried on before the meeting, like issue of the notice. And in some situations means if some special business is needs to be carried out, then an explanatory statement also needs to be attached along with that notice. Right. So before meeting, one notice, and in certain situation, there has to be an explanatory statement needs to be annexed to the notice. And during the meeting, what is required to be tested? One is quorum. We need to understand what is that concept of quorum. Then how a meeting can be chaired. Who will be the chairperson of the meeting? That has to be seen. How proxies can be dealt with, and how voting can be done, how resolution can be passed. This aspect we will see. Post meeting, the aspect of minutes. The other day I had shown you some minutes book. Minutes means the detailed discussion, detailed proceedings of the meeting can be recorded here in that book. So that minutes, how that is to be written, that is the post meeting activity. Then who can inspect that meeting? That aspect also we need to learn. That is maintenance and inspection of the documents related to the meeting. So these are the things we are planning to learn. First, these are the three kinds of meeting which we have already discussed: general meeting, board meeting, and class meeting. We have already understood this, so let us not talk further on this. Now, first, what is important to start a meeting, or before we start the meeting, we need to understand that first of all, a notice needs to be sent. And this aspect also we have discussed, that notice means how many days notice is required. Can any of you tell me how many days notice is required? That means
21 days, sir. 21 days.
Yeah, 21 days, but better you should not say just 21 days. It is better if you say 21 clear
21 days
days.
before.
21 clear days. Because law have
21 clear days.
use the word
Okay.
21 clear days. What is the meaning of clear days? Can anyone say?
Clear days means excluding sending day and receiving date, sir.
Yes, date
In
of
between
dispatch
days,
of the
21 days.
notice, date of dispatch of the notice, and the date of receipt of the notice has to be excluded for calculation of that time gap. So in between
Excluded.
there should be 21 clear days. Now, to whom notices has to be sent? First of all members. Members means the shareholders. Every member is supposed to receive a notice. Then legal representative of a deceased member. If one member has passed away, is no more, then his legal representative can receive notice. Then assignee. In case a member has become insolvent, then his assignee, official assignee, can receive the notice. Okay. And all these notices also has to go to the auditors of the company. Auditor, if you want, you can attend the meeting to the auditors and to all directors. Right? So these are the people who will receive. Members, legal representative, assignee, and auditors and directors. And how this notice can be sent? In writing or in electronic mode. How, which form of electronic mode we'll be discussing subsequently, in what way it will be sent. So notice has to be given in writing or in electronic mode. Right. So these are some specific issues, some IFSC companies, not relevant for us. Purposefully, I'm skipping all these things. Okay. Now, here one more thing we have to remember. This 21 days clear days notice is a statutory requirement. Company cannot curtail it by articles of association. You know, articles of association of the company deals with the internal management of the company. Okay, right? So, company, by making a provision in the articles of association, cannot reduce the requirement of 21 days to a lesser period. That is not possible. So, in any situation, 21 days clear notice has to be given. That is a mandatory requirement we have to keep in the mind. And this particular pic shows to whom notices can be sent. You can once again revise it to members, directors, legal representative of deceased member, assignee, and auditor of the company. Right? These are the people to whom notices can be sent. Now we'll be understanding in which situation a shorter notice, a shorter period notice is possible. Okay. Normally it is not possible, but in exceptional situation, a shorter notice is possible. How it is possible? If you go by the provisions, in this situation, it is possible. Okay. How? If the consent in writing, that means members has to give consent, or by electronic mode is accorded there. That means members have agreed in writing or through electronic mode that lesser period notice is acceptable. Right? In case of annual general meeting, by not less than 95% of the members who are entitled to vote thereafter. If 95% of the members, at least 95% of the members has agreed that certain notice is acceptable, then only it is possible. That is possible only where? Only in case of AGM, only in case of annual general meeting. In case of other general meeting, what are the other general meeting? Is there any possibility of any other general meeting apart from annual general meeting? Can anyone can tell me? One is AGM, right? And here the law says other general meeting. What is the meaning of that? Other general meeting means
A quarterly meeting.
quarterly meetings are normally not held for shareholders. Quarterly meetings are for directors, you know. That I had told you earlier that in every quarter there has to be a board meeting. But members meet annually. Here we are talking about members meeting. Right. But in case you see Companies Act has specified certain things can be done only by members. And if there is a delay or there you feel that AGM will be called after some time only. And right now you want to take a kind of decision where members need to approve that decision. In that kind of situation, an extraordinary general meeting can be called up. That is called as AGM. So when you call as the annual general meeting, that is AGM. When it says any other general meeting, it refers to an EGM. Right? For EGM also, same 21 days clear notice is required. Clear 21 days notice is required. But again, if the members agree, how many members? If the members are holding share capital, majority in number of members entitled to vote who represent not less than 95%. 95% of the members, if they agree, then EGM can be conducted with a notice of lesser period. And if the company doesn't have any share capital, we have seen there is a possibility that company can be formed without share capital. Then again, not less than 95% of the total voting power exercisable in that meeting should give consent in writing or in electronic mode. That meeting can be held with shorter notice. Okay. So the main concept here is that if 95%, at least 95% of the shareholders or 95% of the voting power agrees, then only it is possible to hold a meeting with a shorter notice. Okay. let's move forward. Now, once we have understood this is the notice, now we need to understand what are the contents of the notice. Okay, so a valid notice must state these things. So this is the requirement of section 1 the date, day and hour of the meeting. Which day, which date, and at what time. Then the place of meeting, right? Date, day, hour, and the place of the meeting, and shall contain a statement of business to be transacted in the in that meeting. So what are the something like agenda kind of thing? What are the businesses that needs to be transacted in the meeting that should be included in the notice, right? Okay, so this is the primary content. There is some other discussions in that, some other discussions also there in the same section. That if there is some accidental omission, that means company has tried to send notice but accidentally it has been omitted, that will not invalidate the meeting. Meeting has been called off, but by chance one member has not been received, notice has not been sent to a particular member, that this particular issue is not going to invalidate a meeting. Meeting can still continue. Okay. Now, once you have understood this should be the content of the meeting, next thing we are going to discuss is that what is that explanatory statement, right? Just now I was talking about explanatory statement. Can you recall what is this and which situation explanatory statement has to be included in the notice? Can anyone say so? Well, I'll be telling you that. You know the content of the notice, but in certain situations, the content of the notice should include an explanatory statement, or an explanatory statement should be annexed to that notice. Okay, in which situation? Only when there is some special business. When I say there is some special business, now this means this time we need to understand first of all what is ordinary business. That means in every meeting that those kind of businesses needs to be conducted. If it is normal, it is quite normal that this kind of businesses needs to be conducted in a shareholders meeting, that will be called as an ordinary business. Apart from that, if any other business is conducted, that will be called as the special business. Okay, special business means you can say special issues. So we need to know what are the ordinary business and what are the special businesses. Now, if there is a special business, if you want to discuss some special businesses in a shareholders meeting, if that is the kind of situation, then you need to annex an explanatory statement, right? Now, what should be contained in that explanatory statement? Explanatory statement must specify these things. What are the things? Nature of concern or interest, financial or otherwise, if any, in respect of that item. Okay, the nature of concern and interest, that means this needs to be disclosed. But whose nature of interest, whose nature of concern? Every director, every KMP, or relative of the director or KMP. Okay, if there is a special kind of business which needs to be discussed, where a director is interested, or a key management personnel is interested, or a relative of the director or a relative of the key management personnel is interested, if that is kind of situation, then explanatory statement must clearly disclose that aspect, that this business is to be going conducted, but in that business, these are the people who are interested. Okay. Okay, welcome back. We got disturbed. There are some connection problem. Once again, I am sharing the related screen with you. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because of poor connectivity, we got disconnected. Well, so we'll resume our discussion. So we are talking about that explanatory statement must specify this thing, that the interest of a particular director, interest of a particular key management personnel or their relatives with the business which are going to transact. In addition to that, any other information or the facts which will enable the members to understand the meaning, scope, and implication of the items of the business. If these kind of issues are there, then those aspects can also be included in an explanatory statement. Have you understood this particular slide, or I need to explain it once again? Have you understood this? What is explanatory statement? What it needs to be included? Some of you can unmute and speak. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Sir, understood.
You have understood what is explanatory statement? Then fine. So this is an additional statement in addition to the notice which you are going to send to every members, directors, auditors, etc. This explanatory statement has to be included. Now, as we know, explanatory statement is required only when there is a special business. So we will be understanding what is special business. Okay. Before understanding special business, we need to understand what is ordinary business, and except this ordinary business, which we are going to see, 4 kinds of businesses which we are seeing in this picture. Apart from that, all other businesses are special. Now, can you read what is the first ordinary business? Point number 1. What is the first item which will be called as ordinary business? Then every shareholder meeting, normally we discuss that. What is number 1? Can any one of you read it out? Point number 1, which is an ordinary business.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please read it.
Consideration of financial statement and the report of the board of directors and auditors.
Yeah. So, what happens in the annual general meeting, in every annual general meeting, this financial statement. What are these financial statements? Financial statement means balance sheet, statement of profit and loss, cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity, explanatory notes, all these kind of things. Right? These particular financial statements are considered. Okay. Consideration of the financial statements and the report of the board of directors. In addition to that, directors' reports are also considered, and auditors' reports are also considered. That means what is the financial statement of the company and what the directors are saying on that, or otherwise also about business, what directors are saying, and what auditors have said on this financial statement. All these things needs to be considered. These things will be discussed. So that is one ordinary business. Every AGM, this is one major activity. After this, what is the next activity is? What is the next activity? Can you read it out?
Second one is declaration of any dividend.
Declaration of the dividend. What happens? How dividends are declared? You know, dividends are in fact profits of the company. These profits are declared. These profits are supposed to be distributed to the shareholders. Okay, how this? What the object process is that board of directors will recommend a dividend to the shareholders. Shareholders can only declare dividend. Board cannot declare dividend. Board of directors may recommend that we are declaring 30% dividend, and the shareholders will accept that. Shareholders will declare that. So that is also an ordinary activity, or you can say ordinary business in an annual general meeting. The declaration of the dividend. Okay, on the basis of recommendation, shareholders will declare. And what is the third item? Ordinary business.
The third one is appointment of directors
Yes,
in
you know,
place
directors.
of those retiring.
Yeah, in the place of those who are retiring. You have already understood what is the concept of retiring directors. Okay, how many directors needs to retire and in which situation they need to retire. And if a director is retiring, then in his place, another director needs to be appointed. That is also an ordinary business. And the fourth ordinary business is fourth one.
Fourth one is appointment of any fixing of the remuneration of the auditors.
In fact, it is the appointment of the auditors and fixing their remuneration. This is also one regular activity. Auditors needs to be appointed and the remuneration needs to be fixed. So these are the four things which will be called as the ordinary business. Apart from this, any other business which are discussed, which are proposed to be discussed in the shareholders meeting will be called as special business. Okay. At the moment I am calling it as a special business, what is required? In addition to notice, I am supposed to send an explanatory statement. Okay, understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now we have understood one more thing, that annually one general meeting needs to be held. And if the company wants, it can call for EGM or extraordinary general meeting. And here you have to remember one more concept, that any meeting, any business which is discussed in an EGM is always a special business. They are always special business. Okay. In a normal IGM, all other business except the stated are special business. But at an EGM, every business transacted is a special business. So these two aspects you have to remember. Okay, four kind of businesses are there. They will be called as ordinary business. Except that if anything is discussed in an AGM, that is special business. But anything which is discussed in an EGM, that is an special business. That is one special business. That concept you have to remember. Okay. Now, other some procedural things are there. So, procedural things we will be ignoring. Section by section, there is no need to study it for our syllabus. Now we'll move further. Just wait a minute. Yeah. Now the next concept we want to discuss is about the quorum. You must be having an idea that quorum means that how many number of people minimum should be present in a meeting. Okay. So section 103 says, unless the articles of the company provides for a larger number, that means there is a minimum number which is prescribed in the Companies Act. But the articles of association of the company may prescribe a higher number. That means only when the higher number is present, it will be assumed that there is quorum. Okay. Now, what is the quorum? We'll understand it. Not only understand, we need to remember this also. First of all, we'll discuss about the public company. Okay, are you seeing it? Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Please read this portion,
Yes, sir.
public company, and first checkbox, what is that? Please read it.
If number of members is not more than 1,000, quorum shall be 5 members personally present.
Yeah, that means we have to see how many shareholders are there. If number of shareholders are within 1,000 or up to 1,000, they're not exceeding 1,000 numbers, then quorum is 5 members. 5 members should be present personally. Personally means not through proxy. 5 members needs to present personally. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, right, have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Now, next part, if the number of members
More than 1,000,
more than
but up to
1,000,
5,000
but up to 5,000, then what is the quorum?
shall be 15 members.
15. So, in fact, now you have understood, in case of public company, quorum depends on number of members. How many members are there, we have to see. If it is up to 1,000, the minimum 5 members should be present, otherwise quorum is not there. So we cannot conduct meeting in absence of quorum. Okay, that is minimum is 5 members. But if the number of members are 1,000, but above 1,000, but up to 5,000, then quorum is 15 members. At least 15 members needs to present. And what is the third point?
If the number of members exceed 5,000, then quorum shall be 30 members personally
Okay,
present.
so if the number
30.
of members are exceeding 5,000, minimum we need 30 members in order to have a valid quorum in the meeting. Okay, this is the requirement. This is a requirement as per law. But the articles of the association can still provide a higher number. It cannot reduce the number. Okay, it can increase the number. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now coming to private company. What is the quorum for private company?
Two members.
2. So that is the minimum 2. Irrespective of the number of members, private company quorum is always 2. In case of public company, it may be 5, it may be 15, it may be 30. 3 possibilities. With the private company, it is 2. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if a meeting is adjourned due to want of quorum, we'll see that situation. Okay, in which situation meeting can be adjourned due to want of quorum? In which situation? We have to test the quorum first. Quorum test has to be done within half an hour from the time appointed for holding the meeting. Okay, so if the meeting is at 10 o'clock, by 10:30, quorum should be tested. If the quorum is not present within half an hour from the time appointed for holding the meeting of the company, then what will happen? The meeting shall stand adjourned. Stand adjourned means automatically it will be adjourned. Adjourned to the same day in next week at the same time and place. That means same day, same time, same place,
Same
but
time.
next week. Suppose meeting was notice was given to hold the meeting on Monday, then next Monday at same time at the same place. Okay, or okay, or to such other date at such other time and place as the board may determine. If the board determines a different place, different time, then it's fine. If the board doesn't determine, it will be automatically it will stand adjourned. The same place, next week, same time, same day, meeting. Okay. Now, if the meeting is called by some requisitionist means that means company has not called the general meeting, but some shareholders have called for a general meeting. Okay, some shareholders have called for a general meeting. They have requisitioned to the company that we need to hold a general meeting. If that is the kind of situation, shareholders have demanded to hold a general meeting and there is no quorum. If that is the case, then this meeting is not going to be adjourned. It will stand cancelled. It will automatically cancel because shareholders are demanded. Meeting has been called, but quorum is not there. So that meeting will stand cancelled. Understood? So if the company is calling a general meeting, then it will stand adjourned. And in that meeting, quorum is not present, then it will stand adjourned. But if the shareholders have requisitioned a general meeting and quorum is not present, the quorum will stand, the meeting will stand cancelled. Are you getting? Are you understanding this concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, here one more concept you have to understand. Then what will happen if the quorum is not present in the adjourned meeting also? There is a possibility. Right? Let us say quorum is 15. And this particular meeting, only 10 people have come. So meeting is adjourned. And then adjourned to the same day, same time, next week, same place. And the next meeting you saw, at that previous meeting, there were 10 members, but now only 8 members have come. If that is the kind of situation, whether quorum is there in this adjourned meeting? Are you getting? Are you getting me? Am I audible to you?
Sir.
Yes, sir, it's audible. But
Okay, let me repeat what we have said. That if the quorum is
Yes, sir.
present,
Audible, sir.
Let me repeat that point. I told you that if the quorum is not present and the meeting is called by the company, then meeting will stand adjourned, right? But if the meeting is called by requisitionist, meeting will automatically stand cancelled. Now, what will happen in the urgent meeting? Also, quorum is not present. If quorum is not present at the urgent meeting, also, then what the law says, within half an hour, the members present shall form the quorum. जितने भी हो, सपोज 15 था quorum, 15 से पहला मीटिंग में 10 आए, तो मीटिंग पोस्टपोन हो गया, अर्जेंट हो गया, next week only 8 are coming. That 8 people will be the quorum. That is the quorum and meeting can be conducted. Are you understanding now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, here one more concept you have to understand. In case the meeting is urgent, then one more notice needs to be sent within, notice needs to be sent. The company shall give not less than 3 days notice. So that is, before 3 days notice has to be given to the members either individually or by publishing it in an advertisement in newspaper. At least, in fact, it should be published at least in 2 newspapers. One is English and one is vernacular language. In case meeting gets adjourned, either notice has to be given, minimum 3 days notice is required to the members, or a notice can be published by way of advertisement in 2 newspapers. Okay, so this is the requirement of quorum. Now, after that quorum, we'll be coming to one more aspect, that is about chairmanship of the meeting. Who can be the chairperson and who can be the chairman of the meeting. Okay, normally what will happen? The members, the law is like this, unless the articles of the association otherwise provide. If articles provide some other way, then chairperson can be elected in a different way. But unless it provides, the members personally present shall elect among themselves to be the chairman by show of hand. That means by show of hand, they'll elect a person to be the chairman. Okay. But if poll is demanded on the election of the chairman, then what will happen? If one chairman is already elected by show of hand, he will continue till the new chairman is appointed. Are you getting me? First provision says chairman should be elected by show of hand. But let us say some people objected this particular voting process. Then they may demand a poll. The chairman will be elected by poll. Till that time, who will continue to be the chairman of the meeting? The chairman who was elected by show of hand, he will be continuing to be the chairman till the new chairman is elected by poll. Right? So if you read the provision, it says if the poll is demanded on election of the chairman elected by show of hand shall continue to be the chairman of the meeting until some other person is elected as chairman as a result of poll. And such other elected person shall be the chairman for the rest of the meeting. For the initial part, the first chairman who was elected by show of hand, he will be continuing. Thereafter, the other chairman was elected by poll, he will be continuing in the meeting. Okay. And chairman has got various kinds of powers. That includes power to manage meeting, look after the decorum of the meeting, and one more important thing is there, that is power of casting vote. So that aspect we will be learning. The chairman has got one additional vote also in certain kind of discussion. If there is a tie in voting, then chairman can put one additional vote, which is called as the casting. So these aspects we will be covering in our next class, that is the role of chairmanship. So today we covered regarding these 2 aspects. One is meeting, second part is quorum. If you have any query, then let me know. We'll plan to have a class maybe shortly, maybe day after tomorrow. We'll be continuing with other topics. Any query you have?
No, sir.
Okay, then thank you very much. We'll wind up today's show. Next class we'll start with chairmanship.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Good
you
Okay,
so
sir.
much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Bye, sir.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.